I'm currently in a situation where I'm facing lots of uncertainty, at least in my working life, because I just graduated from university and I'm currently applying for different jobs and trying to understand who I am, what I want, what I need, how I can work best, and what really motivates me. And to be honest, I have found this quite a challenge at times because I have caught myself thinking about what if this happens or what if this doesn't happen? And because I think that lots of us in our 20s are actually faced with constant questions like, what's next? What if this happens? And are just surrounded by lots of uncertainty. I wanted to also for myself get a better understanding of how we can actually navigate through uncertain times. First things first, let's actually have a look at why our 20s especially seem to be so uncertain. One of the main reasons is that our 20s are a time of our lives where we are still trying to understand who we are, who we want to be, and what we eventually want out of our life. We are often faced with big decisions about our education, our career, our relationships, and we may not have a clear sense yet of what our goals or priorities are. Adding to this, uncertainty is all around us and probably more than ever before. If we have a look at the COVID pandemic, the war in Ukraine, or the overall economic situation that our world is in right now. So yes, uncertainty is everywhere. Yet as human beings, we crave security. We want to feel safe and have a sense of control over our lives and well-being. This is why fear and uncertainty can leave us feeling stressed, anxious, and powerless over the direction of our life and can make us feel trapped in endless what-ifs and worst-case scenarios about what tomorrow may bring. So what can we do about this? The first step I have found is that we need to build our tolerance and acceptance. As I said in the beginning, your 20s will be filled with challenges. So it's perfectly normal and absolutely okay to feel overwhelmed from time to time about your path or your sense of direction. Imagine you are kind of building a house and right now you are kind of building the foundation of it in your 20s. So that's the first part. The second one is that you are living through small uncertainties every day. Every day, like when you are crossing the street or when you are getting takeaway from a restaurant, you are accepting a level of uncertainty all of the time actually. So acknowledging that that's a fact, that may also help you to accept bigger uncertainties in your own life. Acceptance is saying I am willing to experience this uncertainty and accept it as part of my life. Not that I like it. Because acceptance allows us to see the reality of the situation in the present moment, it frees us up to move forward rather than remaining paralyzed by uncertainty or fear. Accepting a situation doesn't mean that it will never get better. We don't accept that things will stay the same forever. We only accept that whatever is actually happening at the moment. We can work to make things better while at the same time allowing the reality that right now may be tough. And this leads us to another very important point. Identify things that you can control and things that you cannot control. While we have control over many things, we simply cannot control everything that happens to us. So in this step, you actually look at all the information you have in this very situation and figure out what is and what is not worth the worry right now. When you fixate on things that simply are out of your control, you are not getting into action mode. Whereas when you focus on what you can actually do and what lies within your control, you create positive emotions and you increase your self-efficacy. So to make this clear, this process will never give you certainty, but it will always give you clarity. So if we have a look again at my example that I shared with you at the beginning, I will never know in which job I will be working right now, right? I will not know who will invite me to an interview. All of these things I will not know, but there are certain things that are in my control that I can actually do right now. And the first thing would be to actually get a clearer understanding of what it is that I actually want. And I have asked myself certain questions that have helped me to figure this one out. Questions like, How has my upbringing shaped me in terms of what I think I should be doing? What do I think is possible for me? What do I think is not? What do I think about myself where certain things don't seem possible for me? What am I afraid of? Based on what am I making decisions? What would I do if I would not be afraid of anything? If life would work out exactly as I wanted it to, how would my life look in 2 years or in 10 years? What are my expectations when joining a company? Which are my strengths and which are my weaknesses? How do I work best? Or what motivates me? And the next thing I can do is to actually make time to look for job opportunities, to actually apply to those, to look for people that I know and text them over LinkedIn, for example, or also find recruiters on LinkedIn. Like, these are all things that I actually can control as well. So this way, yes, I will not have any certainty, right, what comes out of it, but I can have clarity on what my next steps are. And based on new information or data that is coming in, I can also adjust my next steps. And also, if you take these small actions or also make small goals for you in this process, you will actually feel a lot more accomplished and also hopeful that you actually can control certain things. Not all of them, but some. Another thing is timing. Please remember that you do not need to have everything figured out in one day. And sometimes that's not even possible to do, right? In my case, again, I have to apply, I have to wait for feedback, then I have to maybe have an interview, I have to wait for feedback again. Like, it is impossible to just make a decision in one day. Tying back into the acceptance part I mentioned at the beginning, sometimes things just suck and we have to learn to actually embrace and feel our emotions. When circumstances are out of our control, it's very easy to become overwhelmed by fear and negative emotions. We may try to put on a brave face or force ourselves to be positive, but denying or even suppressing our emotions will actually increase stress and anxiety. Other times we punish ourselves, maybe even for our feelings, or criticize ourselves, which can lead to a lot of unnecessary pressure caused by us. Try to be compassionate with yourself and kind of even get curious a bit about what is it that you're feeling right now? What is it that you're thinking right now? And just allow yourself again to come up with a response. And when you have a better understanding of how you feel and what you're thinking, you can actually go back again and ask yourself, what information do I have right now? What can I control? What can I not control? And how can I move forward? Another thing that I have found is when you know what you actually can control and have also made a plan for those things, you need to stop asking yourself what if questions and accept failure also as a part of your journey. So the thing is that things can go in a million different ways. We just don't know. So the more time we actually spend discussing what if questions with ourselves, the less time we are actually investing into taking action that will calm ourselves down and keep our stress under control. So just catching yourself that you are currently discussing a what if question with yourself is already a great first step. And this goes hand in hand with knowing that we are simply not able to make the right decision all of the time. Mistakes will be a part of our journey, and that's perfectly okay. We are able to make new decisions all of the time and learn from previous mistakes. But the more we have that kind of awareness that there will be some kind of failure at some point of our journey, the easier it also just gets to make them and to move forward. When you start worrying about your uncertainties, you can actually interrupt your thoughts by practicing a routine that keeps you very grounded in the present moment. There are actually a couple of ways on how to practice mindfulness. It can be something like feeling the chair underneath your butt, appreciating the texture of the food as you chew it, or noting the sensation of going from hungry to satisfied. You can also take a couple of minutes to focus on your breath. This will quiet your distracting thoughts. The goal is to spend the entire time focused only on your breathing, which will prevent your mind from wandering. Think about how it feels to breathe in and out. This maybe even seem a bit silly, but trust me, this really helps you getting away from distracting thoughts. There are also lots of other things that can actually get you out of your worrying state. Just ask yourself what is actually helping you to be very locked into the present moment. These things will actually also help you to better connect to your intuition. People who successfully are dealing with their uncertainty are really able to embrace their gut feeling. And this is something that you usually cannot force. So this is also why practicing these other activities like doing something playful, working out, etc. are helping you to let your intuition come through. So that way you can also better connect to it and actually get a feel of what your gut instinct says. What you can also do is to ask yourself, what are the advantages of certainty and what are the disadvantages? And getting almost a bit excited about figuring things out. Of course, this just applies to circumstances where that's actually possible. There are for sure situations that are a lot more threatening than others. That's really important to note here as well. But in general, again, in my situation, I like to remind myself that it's also a bit exciting to figure things out now, to talk to people, to explore different options, you know. If we would already know everything, that would be so boring, you know. That's also kind of what makes life so interesting, that we sometimes just don't know what's next. And the last thing is to get confident about your coping and adapting skills. So the idea here is to have a look at what were previous uncertain situations in your life and how did you actually manage to navigate through them. There's also another exercise which I find really great and I think that could also help here. It is called the Lifeline Exercise. Here you draw a horizontal line across a paper and a vertical line at the left edge. At the top you write words like happy, satisfied, fulfilled, and at the bottom you write things like unhappy, frustrated, unsatisfied. And now you write a 0 at the junction of the two lines and your current age at the far right of the horizontal line. And now you move from your birth to your current age and put all your significant events and relationships you experienced at a certain age and how happy or unhappy, satisfied or unsatisfied you felt. And then you connect the dots with a line. So now again, you can have a look at previous moments where you were facing a lot of uncertainty, for example, and really question, okay, how did you actually get through it? What has helped you maybe even? What strengths or skills did you use? What did you also maybe potentially learn about yourself in this very situation? So this is just, again, to prove that you have already faced other difficult or uncertain situations, to just make sure that you can actually be very confident about also facing and navigating through this one. That's it for this episode. I really hope that you have enjoyed it and that you could find some useful tips for your own life to better navigate through uncertain moments in your 20s or whatever age you are. Please also note that this is just me sharing my experience and of course also the research that I have done, but every situation is very different and individual, so please just keep that in mind for also maybe seeking other information or other professional advice here. So I wish you a wonderful morning, day, evening, whenever you are listening to this, and I hope to see you very soon in one of my new and next videos.